Okay, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Good morning, Miss. Can Miss?
Okay. What about other two? Ask them to join, please. So, is there any doubts in the last class? Yeah, do you want to clarify anything?
No, Miss.
So today we'll see it in detail about this practical aspect, the upper limb practical. Today we are going to talk about the peripheral joint mobilizations of upper limb. Mostly we will go through shoulder joint, okay? Shoulder joint mobilization. Okay, so before that, we will watch all the upper limb mobilization techniques. Okay, just to go through it, and later on we will see it in detail about what are the things we are going to see is like joint position, the position of the patient. The first thing is it should be comfortable, right? So the position of the patient should be comfortable, relaxed, and easy to approach. For the therapist also, it should be economical to perform that movement. Okay, that is important. And then therapist also maintain the position in such a way that it is easy for him to approach the joint aspect. Okay, whether it is a AP or posterior glide or anterior glide, whatever it is, both it should be convenient and comfortable for them. Okay, and you note these things. Main thing is the positions, how they are approaching, and other one is joint position. Apart from the overall position of the patient, for example, shoulder joint, how they are placing, okay, whether they are place it in extension, flexion, or resting position. Commonly, we call it resting position, but in clinical aspect, we don't have to stick on to resting position. Okay, what we can do is you can change it into whichever it's pain free, but after a particular range, after a few seconds, it may comes to painful. Is it clear? What I'm saying is before the pain range, before the pain is starting, or pain-free position. Just choose pain-free. In the clinical aspect, what I'm saying is choose any pain-free position that is comfortable. For example, you are trying to reach or you are trying to complete the elbow extension. Okay, so it is like, for example, elbow extension. I'll show you. For example, this is elbow extension, but it is not reaching the last degrees, means this is after that, this point, it is painful. I find it very painful, means just begin that 1 or 2 degrees, begin that and start the treatment. Okay, so clinically it is different. We need to choose the choose the pain-free position or resting position that should be appropriate in loose back or resting position. Both are more or less same. For example, what I'm saying is this loose back position or resting positions, or majority of the time, the 90% of time, it is painless. In case if it is painful, means you need to change it into pain-free positions of the patient. Maybe it varies from person to person. It may vary. Just see the whole joint mobilization for all the upper extremity. Okay. What about two more has to join, right?
I called them miss, but they haven't.
So one more thing, for glenohumeral joint, you all know that the humerus, what is the shape of the articular surface of humerus? Can you tell me?
Convex, miss.
Convex, right? Very good. So convex. So we are mobilizing only the convex part. Head of the humerus is convex. So here the convex is there, means we are mobilizing the convex point, means it's opposite. Rolling and gliding is in the opposite direction. Am I right? Yesterday we talked, right, this thing like convex is moving, means the gliding and rolling in opposite direction. But if it is concave, means gliding and rolling is in the same direction. Am I right?
Yes, miss.
So here you are moving the humerus, head of the humerus. So it is convex, right? So the rolling is exactly opposite. So the posterior glide, if you are giving posterior glide, means it improves the anterior rolling. Am I right? So flexion, internal rotation, this aspect is going to be improved whenever we try for posterior glide. Okay. And then anterior glide, if you are improving or if you are trying the anterior glide, means it will help you in all the extension and lateral rotation. Okay. Mostly in the if you are face-to-face classes, if you are having face-to-face classes, we may have this demonstration, like we can use this skeletons to demonstrate why we need gliding and rolling. Now he's showing us, then it will be easy for us to understand why the rolling and gliding are combined.
مين الموفينج سيرفيس هنا؟ الهيدروفيومرس مالها كونفكس، فلما اعمل posterior gliding هيحسن
can you see that? So
البوستيريور gliding بتبقى الكونفكس كونكيف رول. البوستيريور gliding مين الموفينج سيرفيس هنا؟ الهيدروفيومرس مالها.
You now see that if he is doing flexion, what happens to the head of humerus? Please check this.
فلما اعمل posterior gliding هيحسن.
Can you see that? So whenever the patient is moving anteriorly, that is the forward flexion, if it is doing forward flexion, automatically your head of humerus is glide in the posterior way. Have you seen that?
هنا الهيبوفيومرس مالها كونفكس، فلما اعمل posterior gliding هيحسن الفليكشن.
البيشنت بيبقى نايم صغير وبيبقى فيه بيلت اكروس الشيست عشان تثبت السكابولا، وبحط الصاج ما بين الارم وما بين.
Okay, one more thing is supporting the distal page. We don't want to have more pressure on the shoulder joint. So how to do this means like this elbow joint and wrist is supported by supported in between therapist trunk and his arm. Okay.
الشيست بتاع المريض، وشيست بعمل تربو خفيف كده عشان يعمل ايه؟ ديستراكشن جديد، وان حاجه خفيفه خالص عشان تسهل الجلايدنج موفمنت. باجي بحط ايدي عند الانتيريور اسبكت بتاعت الهيومرس وبنزل في البوستيريور. ملاحظه وانا بعمل البوستيريور جلايد اخلي الالبو اكستندد عشان الحركه تيجي من البادي ويت بتاعي، ما تجيش من مجرد بس الالبو، لا بعملها بحيث ان يبقى الحركه.
Just place your palm, the whole of your hand on the anterior aspect of the head of humerus. Okay, just place it and then give some posterior gliding. Sometimes if it is so stiff, the joint is very stiff and all, what we can do is you can do some kind of distraction. This after giving distraction means separate the head of humerus laterally, just this way. Just you are separating it and then give that posterior glide. Okay. In some other video, I will show you what is distraction, but most of the time you need to combine this. Otherwise, it will cause articular damage. Okay.
الاكستندد وبعمل ني فليكشن عشان الحركه تيجي من البادي.
So first thing is the posterior glide is useful for flexion. So if there is any restriction of flexion and internal rotation, you can use a posterior glide. Okay. So anterior glide is useful for extension and lateral rotation.
الحاله هنا طبقا للكونفكس كونترول عكس الجلايدنج، عكس الدايركشن بتاع الفسيولوجيكال. يبقى الانتيريور جلايدنج هيحسن الاكستنشن.
Can you see that when he is doing that, when he is doing extension, the head of the humerus moves anteriorly.
جلايدنج عكس الحاله هنا الانتيريور جلايدنج في الحاله هنا طبقا للكونفكس كونترول عكس الجلايدنج، عكس الدايركشن بتاع الفسيولوجيكال. يبقى الانتيريور جلايدنج هيحسن الاكستنشن.
50 درجه فليكشن، 20 ل 30 درجه يبقى وبرد.
Please check the position of the patient, prone lying and pillow or pad support under the shoulder joint, because some kind of tendons, the biceps and pectoralis, all the tendons are very prominent there. So we don't want to compress this or unnecessary discomfort to patient. So just place a pillow under that and then check the check the upper limb placement. Okay. So here it is placed slightly abducted. Okay, slightly abducted and then elbow flexed.
ريح الابر الهيومرس على الصاي بتاعها.
And then support the upper arm on your thighs. Okay, so you can use box stance position. Right, he is using box stance position. That is easy to apply a body weight. Okay.
بحط ايدي على البوستيريور اسبكت بتاعت الهيب بتاعت الهيومرس، بنزل في انتي الملاحظات الهامه. الالبو يبقى اكستندد، بعمل فليكشن في الني عشان انزل بالبادي ويت. حاجه ثانيه عند الالبو هنا يفضل ان السموث الحركه تبقى سموث، ما ثبتش الالبو، لان لو ثبتت الالبو او عملت اكستند هايبر اكستنشن ده ممكن يعرض المريض لديسلوكيشن في الشغل.
Okay, so inferior glide. Can you guess what is the use of inferior glide? Which physiological movements are improving in inferior glide? Any guess?
Miss, is it rotation?
Pardon? Rotation.
Yes.
I already told you, right? For anterior glide is useful for extension and lateral rotation, and posterior glide is for flexion and medial rotation. Okay, when you want to improve a medial rotation, you can use posterior glide. Okay.
Okay.
So what about this caudal glide? What is the use of that? We have only 6 movements, right? Already 4 movements are over.
Abduction.
Yes, abduction. Okay. Abduction. Okay, so abduction is the upward movement, right? So if you are giving inferior glide, it is useful for improving the abduction. Mostly you all have seen the patient, the shoulder joint problems. The most common restrictions are abduction, lateral rotation, medial rotation. These are the 3 the most worst affected movements. Okay, if you treat any patient or after any immobilization, these 3 movements are very severely affected. Okay, so abduction, lateral rotation, medial rotation. Okay, and then if it is so severe, it can affect the flexion also. This is the pattern. Commonly, when you see a patient, you can check this. This is the pattern of restriction. Okay, so one of the important glides, inferior glides, are useful for correcting the abduction restriction.
الشولدر جوينت عايز احسن الرينج بتاع الابدكشن او اقل زي ما اتفقنا ان الهيد فيومرس كونفكس والجلونيه فوسا كونكيف. هعمل انفيريور جلايد، الانفيريور جلايد هيحسن الابدكشن.
Can you see when he is doing abduction, the head of humerus is moving downward. Can you see this? Yeah.
كونفكس والجلونيه فوسا كونكيف. هعمل انفيريور جلايد، الانفيريور جلايد هيحسن الابدكشن.
الانفيريور جلايد زي ما اتفقنا ان هو هيحسن الابدكشن. الريستنج بوزيشن بنبدا من عند الريستنج بوزيشن 55 درجه فليكشن، 20 ل 30 درجه ابدكشن، وبحط ايدي هنا عند الاكزيلا وبعمل
Okay, so slightly flexed, slightly abducted. Okay, I will tell you the exact range. Now you can see that it is slightly flexed and abducted.
وان ديستراكشن. ببعد السيرفس عن بعض حاجه بسيطه، والايد الثانيه هنا فين؟ عند السبيل الازرق بتاع الهيومرس وبحركها في انفيريور. والايد الثانيه هنا فين؟ عند السبيل الازرق بتاع الهيومرس وبحركها في انفيريور.
During this time also, you can give some distractions. Distraction means using this hand, yeah, right? Using his right hand, you can pull it, or you can cause a distraction. That is, you can increase the joint space and then you can apply this caudal glide. It is more effective compared to without the distraction. Whenever you do, that is, a distraction means, what I'm saying is increasing the joint space. Okay, so just pull it outward, or laterally you need to create a gap. Okay, so what is the use of superior glide?
Adduction.
Yes, adduction.
لوز باك بوزيشن، وكل جوينت ليه لوز باك بوزيشن. بعديها بننتهي الخطوه ان احنا بنبدا عند البوينت اوف ليميتيشن او البوينت اوف باري. نيجي عند الشولدر مثلا، بعد اللوز باك بوزيشن بنبتدي عند 90 درجه فليكشن. بعمل كريت 1 ديستراكشن بوزيشن. بعديها بننتهي الخطوه ان احنا بنبدا عند البوينت اوف ليميتيشن او البوينت اوف باري. نيجي عند الشولدر مثلا، بعد اللوز باك بوزيشن بنبتدي عند
And one more thing, please note down that adduction restriction, range of motion restriction is very rare. Okay, you cannot expect adduction ranges difficulties. Most common complaint is abduction, lateral rotation, medial rotation, and flexion.
90 درجه فليكشن.
Have you seen any patient placing his hand with this, like 90-degree abducted? Very rare, right?
وان ديستراكشن بالايد كده، والايد بتاعتي عند السوبيريور اسبكت بتاعت الهيومرس وبحركها في البوينت اوف ليميتيشن الثانيه فوق ال 90 درجه. لو البين والليميتيشن في الرينج اوف موشن فوق ال 90 درجه بتاعه الابدكشن، بنعمل ايه؟ عشان نيجي فوق ال 90 درجه لازم بيحصل شويه اكسترنال روتيشن في الشولدر. الاكسترنال روتيشن بتاع الشولدر عشان الهيد بتاعت الهيومرس ما تخبطش فين؟ في الاكرون. بنبدا فوق ال 90 درجه نعمل اكسترنال روتيشن في الشولدر عشان الهيد بتاعت الهيومرس ما تخبطش في الاكرون.
So what he is doing is, actually it is not a superior glide, but if you are progressing, abduction is going beyond from 80-degree. From 80-degree, you need to do a slight lateral rotation and then complete the movement, because you cannot do it with medial rotation. Can you do that? With the medial rotation, it is not achieving full range. Abduction cannot be performed in medial rotation. Okay, it is painful, or you cannot complete that. Okay, so whenever we are going beyond 90-degree abduction, you need to do lateral rotation and then do the gliding, as well as you can progress. For progression, he is saying, for example, the patient is only having abduction 60-degree, and you have to improve it till 180. Means in the first 80 to 90 degrees, it is okay that you can do the gliding in neutral rotation. But after that, if you are progressing to abduction to 90 and more than that, you have to do lateral rotation. This is what lateral rotation, right? So if your thumb is moving outward, we call it lateral rotation, and moving inward, we call medial.
فوق 90 درجه بنعمل جاست جديد 1 ديستراكشن، والايد بتاعتي هنا عند السبيل اسبكت بتاعت الهيد.
And then now he has given a distraction. So you won't be like the weak, the structures inside the shoulder joint may be weak after immobilization or after any joint pathology. So distraction should be minimal, or it shouldn't be so severe that it may damage the other tissues. Okay, so just maintain that traction in such a way that it should be firm, but it is not too stressful.
بحركها في inferior glide عشان احسن الابدكشن.
So what I'm saying is, superior glide is not needed. Most of the time, we don't have adduction problem. Okay, so the superior glide is unnecessary. And one more thing is our deltoid, one of the powerful muscles around your shoulder joint. It is a powerful superior translator. Okay, so your deltoid is active or it is working means it can produce a superior translation. It can do the work. Okay, it is unnecessary for us to do this superior glide or adduction problem is also very rare. So that's why we are not practicing this superior glide. Okay, he is just doing, it is not a superior glide. Actually, what he is doing means he is practicing the inferior glides in different ranges. That is more than 90 degree. Maybe for the first week, you are improving to up to 90, abduction up to 90 degree means after that, we need to progress, right? Till 90 degree, it is not sufficient for the patient. Then for that remaining 90 to 180 degree, what he is doing means he has to do distraction along with the abduction to the pain-free range. We need to laterally rotate. Is it clear? Am I confusing you?
It's clear, miss.
Okay, tell me anywhere you find it difficult to follow or sometimes I'm confusing you. Please ask now and then. Okay.
Okay.
What about others, ma? Other two, they are not joining. They are not informing to me also.
I contacted them, miss, but they never answer.
If they are not available, please inform us. Otherwise, it is not looking good. Okay, so
اسمه joint distraction والجديد الثاني اسمه long move traction. الجوينت ديستراكشن ببعد السيرفيس عن بعض. اللونج موف تراكشن برسم من الهيومرس من تحت لما اشدها هيحصل معاها ايه؟ ان في جوينت ديستراكشن بحط ايدي عند الاكسيلا وطبعا يفضل يبقى في بيلت يثبت السكابولا، ايدي هنا عند الاكسيلا وبشد لما اشدها هيحصل اسمه جوينت ديستراكشن وفي الثاني اسمه جانب محسن الابدكشن وبحركها في اسمه جوينت.
You need to know both the difference between joint distraction and traction. Okay, so there is a marked difference in that. Joint distraction is different and joint traction is another thing. I will show you what is the difference and all. Distraction means you are giving the lateral gap. Okay, laterally you are increasing the space, but traction means we are just pulling it in the caudally, like downward traction.
اسمه جوينت ديستراكشن وفي الثاني اسمه لونج موف تراكشن. الجوينت ديستراكشن ببعد السيرفيس عن بعض. اللونج موف تراكشن برسم من الهيومرس من تحت لما اشدها.
He's from the way he's demonstrating, you can understand that. Distraction means this one.
اسمه جوينت ديستراكشن وفي الثاني اسمه لونج موف تراكشن. الجوينت ديستراكشن ببعد السيرفيس.
This is what distraction. Okay, so the head of the humerus is moving laterally, thereby we are creating a space.
الجوينت ديستراكشن ببعد السيرفيس عن بعض.
This is distraction.
اللونج موف تراكشن برسم من الهيومرس من تحت لما اشدها هيحصل معاها ايه؟
This is what traction.
جوينت ديستراكشن بحط ايدي عند الاكسيلا وطبعا يفضل يبقى في بيلت يثبت السكابولا ايدي هنا.
Okay, one more thing is while grasping the area where you need to mobilize, just make it a firm grip, firm grasp, but it shouldn't be too painful. Okay, that is the one other thing. That is, if you pinch them, it may produce severe soreness as well as severe pain to them. So the grip should be tight, but it shouldn't compress or it shouldn't create unnecessary pain. Okay.
عند الاكزيلا وبشد او ببعد السيرفس عن بعض، وبحط ايدي هنا عند السكالب عند الاكزيلا وبحركها في جوين ديستراكشن. لاترال لونج بون تراكشن من الريستنج بوزيشن.
Okay, this is traction, but before that, seconds before we have seen, right, that is lateral distraction.
الهيومرس وبشدها باجي اشد
Is it clear, ma? There is a difference between distraction and traction.
الهيومرس ورا كده يصاحب معاها.
Okay, is it clear with the shoulder joint? Shoulder joint movements and what are the uses? What type of glides has what type of effects on your glenohumeral joint? Is it clear? We have only anterior glide, posterior glide, and then traction, distraction, and then inferior glide. Is it clear? Only we have 5 things: anterior glide, posterior glide, distraction, traction, and then inferior glide. Is it clear? Are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
Excuse me, Miss.
So what is the use for anterior glide? Can you tell me?
Extension.
Yes, very good. Extension and
Forgot which rotation.
extension. Very good. One thing is it is useful for extension. Other one is lateral rotation. Okay. So anterior glide is useful for improving extension and lateral rotation. And what about posterior glide?
Flexion and medial rotation.
Yes, very good. And then the caudal inferior glide. What is the use of inferior glide?
Abduction.
Yes, very good. Abduction. And then we have one more thing called distraction. So distraction is useful before any glides. For any glides, we can do 2 or 3 times of distraction, and after that you can do gliding. Okay, so that is the use of this all the important glides and traction and distraction. Okay, now we are coming to acromioclavicular. Sometimes we all know this clavicle, the clavicle's rotation. So along with the shoulder joint glides and mobilization, you need to give a mobilization on acromioclavicular as well as SC, sternoclavicular. This will give you the complete sometimes there is a problem with this AC joint or SC joint. So whatever you are doing, whatever the mobilization you are going to do it on glenohumeral joint doesn't provide any beneficial effects. Sometimes it will happen like in the last degrees, you cannot achieve the beneficial effects because of this restriction in this joints. So we need to check this along with that. Whenever there is a problem with the shoulder region, you need to check these 2 important joints, sternoclavicular as well as acromioclavicular.
عندنا المفصل الشولدر جوينت شولدر كومبلكس. شولدر كومبلكس يعني عباره عن glenohumeral, acromioclavicular, sternoclavicular, scapulohumeral. الاكروميوكلافيكولار عندنا 2 تكنيكس، انتيريو جلايد والبوستيريو جلايد. الانتيريو جلايد بنريح ايدينا على الابر ترابيزيوس والايد بتاعتي على البوستيريو اسفل بتاعتي وبنعمل انتيريو، بعمل انتيريو جلايد
Can you see that it is a very small joint, right? We need to use our thumb, as well as the pressure can be like, if you are using single-handed pressure, then it is too fatigue. Easily you get fatigue. So use double thumb, the double thumb anterior glides, because mostly we don't use our small joints, because you may get it's like you can easily degenerate. Okay, frequently if you are using small joints, and because many times we need to use this smaller joint muscles and smaller joints. Okay, so rarely, or you need to avoid this small joint effects. But in this thing, AC joint is a very small joint. We have no other option. You have to use our thumb to give anterior and posterior glide.
التكنيك الثاني وهو البوستيريور. في عندك البوستيريور الاسفل ده الكلافيكل، وتيجي هنا مريحه عند الاكروميون. ليه؟ عشان تثبت الاوبوزيت وتتحرك الكلافيكل.
الاكروميو كلافيكولار جوينت. الاكروميو كلافيكولار جوينت واحد جوينت من ضمن الشولدر كومبلكس. نيجي عن اللاترال اند بتاعت الكلافيكل، ايدي عند الاكروميون، وبحط ايدي عند الكلافيكل كده وبحركها في posterior كده.
Okay, so in the AC joint, we have anterior and posterior glide, and in the SC joint, you'll see that anterior and posterior glide.
عباره عن لما تيجي تبص على الفيو العكس او البربنديكولار عليه تلاقيه عندنا 4.
Actually, the joint surface, SC joint is purely a saddle variety, saddle shape. Saddle shape means it's a biplanar. In one aspect, it is both concave and convex, and in one surface, it is convexo-concave. Okay, so that is the saddle varieties difference. And other things are ovoid. Ovoid means one is purely concave, another is convex. That is ovoid types. This is saddle variety.
الحركه الثانيه جروب تراكشن الجروب تراكشن سيم دايركشن الجلايد سيم دايركشن يعني كيلو جلايد
So what he's saying is for protraction means your shoulder is moving inward, closer towards and closer anteriorly. That is what protraction. Retraction means your scapula is going closer to each other, or the posterior aspect is moving closer to each other. Okay, that is called protraction and retraction. And so here in this SC joint, what happens means exactly opposite, like how the head of humerus is moving in one direction and the glide is in the opposite direction. Likewise here also in the clavicle. So whenever we are doing elevation, during that time, the clavicle, the medial end of the clavicle is going downwards. Okay, whenever we are doing depression, and the medial end of clavicle goes upward. Okay, in the same way for protraction, whenever your shoulder joint moves anteriorly, your medial end of clavicle goes posteriorly, and for retraction, it goes anteriorly. Okay, retraction means it's the shoulder joint moves backward. right? During that time, your medial end of the clavicle goes anteriorly, exactly opposite. Okay, so accordingly, which one is restricted or which one has a limited range, according to that you can give mobilization in the SC joint.
الانسان الواقعي هنا الانتير في البوستيريور جلايد بحط ايدي عند الانتيريور از بتاعت الكلافيكل، الميديال اند بتاعت الكلافيكل، وبحركها anterior glide.
So posterior glide for protraction. Okay, so, yes, anterior glide for retraction.
هيك عند الانتيريور از بتاعت الكلافيكل وبحركها. التكنيك الثاني الإليفيشن والديبريشن. inferior glide بيحدد
So inferior glide causes elevation, okay, and superior glide causes depression.
elevation. superior glide بيحسن.
ده اسمه posterior ديت الاسترنم، هنا الكلافيكل، الميديال اند، بنيجي عند الكلافيكل. anterior glide بنيجي من البوستيريور اسفل بتاعت الكلافيكل وبحركها anterior. في اسلوب تاني للانتيريور جلايد بتاع الانتيريور جلايد بتاعت الكلافيكل، العكس، ان انا اثبت الكلافيكل من هنا وان انا احط ايدي عند الاسترنم واحرك الاسترنم لورا اكني حركت الكلافيكل لقدام. superior glide.
And one more thing is, these are all very small joints, so don't give over pressure and create unnecessary soreness. Okay, just a mild pressure is enough.
حسب الدايركشن بتاع حوالي 4 depression upward retraction away from the spine, retraction toward the spine.
Other thing is scapulothoracic joint. Actually, it is a functional one. We don't have any articular surface, nothing. But if there is any problem with that, is there any adhesion or is there any restriction in scapular movement, also causes some restriction in other joint movements. So we need to do, we have 3 planes of movement. Okay, rotations, retraction, and that is sideways movement, and upward and downward glides. Okay, so upward and we can call it upward and downward rotation, or medial or lateral rotation, and then superior glide, inferior glide, and then sideways, medial and lateral glides.
نمسك السكابولا كويس. اول حاجه بحط ايدي من تحت الهيومرس بتاعنا عشان اوصل بايدي.
Can you see that he is using like for palpating the inferior aspect of scapula, he has to place his hand in between the patient's trunk and his limb, upper limb.
الايد الثانيه هنا عند السوبيريور بوردر بتاع السكابولا. كده انا اتحكمت في السكابولا كويس. اعمل بقى سوبيريور elevation او superior glide, depression, retraction ناحيه السباينس الفيرتيبرال كولم، protraction away upward rotation downward.
Okay, so now we can see that for shoulder complex itself, we have 4 joint mobilizations. One is glenohumeral. In the glenohumeral, you have anterior glide, posterior glide, caudal glide, distraction, and then traction. Okay, and after that, you have for acromioclavicular, we have only anterior and posterior glide. Okay, and in the SC joint, we have 2 degrees of freedom. That is, one is anterior and posterior glide, other one is superior and inferior glide. Okay, and then we have this scapulothoracic joint. Actually, it is not a joint, it is a functional joint, we call this. And then you need to mobilize this also. It has 3 degrees of freedom. 3 degrees of freedom means upward and downward glide, medial and lateral glide, and then upward and downward rotation. Okay, we call it either upward and downward rotation, or external and internal rotation of scapula. Either way, it is it's correct only. Okay, so that's it. Is it clear? For shoulder joint, we have for shoulder complex, we have 4 joints, and for each and every joint, we have different glides and slides. Is it clear? Do you want me to repeat or repeat the video again? Is there anything you want to watch again?
Miss, can you show the distraction and traction one more time?
Distraction and?
The traction.
Okay.
الريستنج بوزيشن، بنبدا من عند الريستنج بوزيشن 55 درجه فليكشن، 20 ل 30 درجه ابدكشن، وبحط ايدي هنا بتاعه الابدكشن درجه، بنعمل جاست جريد 1 ديستراكشن، والايد بتاعت اسمه جوينت ديستراكشن، وتجيب تاني اسمه لونج بون. الجوينت ديستراكشن ببعد السيرفيس عن بعض. اللونج بون تراكشن برسم من اليومرس من تحت لما اشدها هيحصل معاها ايه؟ انفيل. جوينت ديستراكشن بحط ايدي عند الاكزيلا، وطبعا يفضل يبقى في بيلت يثبت السكابولا، ايدي هنا عند الاكزيلا، وبشد او ببعد السيرفس عن بعض، وبحط ايدي هنا عند السكاب عند الاكزيلا وبحركها في لاترال. لونج بون تراكشن من الريستنج بوزيشن.
You can see that it is slightly abducted. It is not by the side of the trunk. Okay? It is not close to your trunk. You just abduct it and then give traction. Okay?
اليومرس وبشدها، باجي اشد اليومرس ورا كده يصاحب معاها.
Okay, so distraction means it's increasing the space between the 2 joint surface, but the traction, the long axis traction means we are pulling the whole upper limb downward. Okay, there is a lot of difference in this thing. Is it clear now?
Yes, miss.
So that's all about this shoulder joint. Okay, shoulder joint mobilization is over, but it's a rough idea only. We will see it in detail about the practical things. What are the practical aspect? Okay. So the glenohumeral joint, it's actually a concave glenoid fossa receives the convex humeral head. Okay. So the resting position, always the safer one or more convenient and comfortable position is the shoulder is abducted 55 degree and horizontally adducted 30 degree and rotated. That is rotated. So the forearm is in the horizontal plane with respect to the body. That is, it is plane of the scapula, means it is in the 45 degree to the frontal plane. That's what we call it, the plane of the scapula. You all know that, right? In biomechanics, you have come across this term, the plane of the scapula. So you need to maintain that. Okay. So plane of that is what here, whenever we are seeing that, once again, yes, this is the plane of the scapula, this angle. It is actually 45 degree to the frontal plane. So it is at the shoulder is abducted 55 degree, horizontally adducted 30 degree, and rotated in such a way that it should be in the plane of the scapula. And then the treatment plane. So we already know that the always the concave surface, we consider it as a treatment plane. Okay, so the glenoid fossa is the concave aspect in this glenohumeral joint. So we consider the treatment plane as the treatment plane is in line with the glenoid fossa. Okay, and then the stabilization. If it is supine lying, you can have like the couch itself can stabilize the scapula or fixate the scapula. Or other position means you can use your other hand or assistance or using a belt. Okay, a belt to stabilize and fixate the proximal segment. Okay, so we'll see it in the picture. Actually, we already have seen the videos. You can see the first indication is what is the use for glenohumeral distraction. Okay, so a main thing is testing. What about the joint space? Whether it is restricted, is there any adhesion or stiffness, or what about the synovial fluid? What is the consistency of synovial fluid can be tested by this distraction. Okay, it is whether it is easily applicable whenever you do distraction. If it is easy, means the synovial fluid is in the good form, or it is in the mobilizing thing. Oil, what is the condition of so actually lubrication? The synovial fluid is nothing but a compared to our oil in the car engine and this kind. So you can check the mobility or the movement inside, how flexible the joint is. You can find out that. And so that for testing you can use, and for initial treatment. So whenever we start mobilizing, you need to increase the joint space. Otherwise, it will rub the surface. It creates unnecessary friction in between the joint surface, and it will damage your articular cartilage, and it leads to degenerative changes. So without adequate distraction, if you are doing a mobilization, it will do a harmful effects on shoulder joint. Okay, that is the so before doing any mobilization, give sustained grade 2. So sustained means you are holding it in that position. You are not giving oscillations. Can you see the difference between sustained and oscillation? Sustained means we are increasing the pressure or whatever it is and hold it in that position. Okay, so that is what called sustained grade 2. or so for initial treatment, you can give sustained grade 2. How long you need to hold it means maybe 15 to 60 seconds, depending on the joint condition, joint stiffness level. You can increase the holding to greater time also. Sustained grade 2 glenohumeral distraction. Okay, and then for pain control, if it is the painful condition means you can use grade 1 or grade 2 distractions, and that is in the oscillatory phase. The distraction should be given, but it is in the form of some rhythm. You're going to and fro movement. Yeah, oscillation means nothing but we are giving some kind of you can understand it, right? What is oscillation? So the grade 1 and 2 oscillations can be given for reducing the pain. Okay. So and then for general mobility, for improving the general mobility and all, you can go for sustained grade 2. We have 3 grades, right? Grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. Last class we have discussed about it. What are the different grades of distraction, joint distractions? So when we apply grade 1 means grade 1 or grade 2 oscillation, it is for purely pain control. And grade 3 means you are going across, or if you are going cross the limit, you are giving, if you are loosening it and then you are tighten up the slack and then going beyond that. Okay, that is for general mobility. And sustained grade 2 for initial treatment. Okay, understand this thing. The patient position. Samuel, are you? This is the time to enter the class. Huh? Already 1 hour is over. You can at least inform me, right? Can you hear me?
Can miss.
Okay, so the patient position is supine lying and with arm in the resting position. Resting position means abducted 55 degree, adducted horizontal adduction to 40 degree, and then slightly rotated in such a way that it is in the plane of the scapula. Okay, and then we are giving some lateral distraction. Lateral distraction means in this already is there arrow. So we are using this hand to give some lateral force. So patient position, supine lying with the arm in the resting position and support the forearm. So the distal aspect of the limb should be fully supported by placing the limb in between your trunk and the your upper limb, right side. The right side up between the upper limb and trunk, you can hold their limb. Okay, right? That is easy for us to support it. If you are holding it, it makes you fatigue easily. So if you are using your trunk for holding the holding the patient's upper limb, it is easy for us. That is a use of using your trunk. Nothing other than that. If you are able to support it using your body, using your limb itself is okay. Otherwise, we can make it easy for us. Okay, hand placement. So use the hand nearer the part being treated. Okay, so one hand is, for example, this is left side. Left side is useful for giving the distraction, and the other side is just for holding the patient's upper limb. Support the upper limb, we are using other side. Okay, so left hand if treating the left patient's left shoulder. Okay, so the hand which is useful for distraction can be according to the patient's side. For example, if you are treating a right side, the patient's right side means your right hand is useful for giving traction. Because it is not a big rule, nothing is there, but only is easy for us. It is convenient, or we cannot strain or we cannot cross the other limb. That is the reason we are using left for left and right for right. So other thing is the placing it in the slightly below, maybe 1 or 2 centimeter below the axilla. Don't impinge, because the axillary area is where the neurovascular structures, there are very sensitive neurovascular structures are there, and tendons, biceps tendon and pectoralis, and very important tendons are there. So don't cross it in this way. Just palpate it slightly 2 or 3 centimeters below the axillary line. Okay. So the place it in the patient's axilla with your thumb just distal to the joint margin. That's why I told you, don't give it exactly to the joint line, or else it will compress the axilla. So slightly 1 or 2 centimeters below the joint line is very effective. Okay, so the thumb on the anterior aspect and fingers on the posterior aspect of the patient's arm. Okay, and then your other hand supports the humerus from the lateral aspect. So your other hand should be placed on here, or just you hold it, or you can hold freely. Okay, that's it. The mobilizing forces with the hand in the axilla move the humerus laterally. And then our glenohumeral caudal glide in resting position. So this is inferior glide for increasing the abduction. Okay, so this caudal glide is useful for abduction, to increase the abduction. And one more thing is, if it is very superiorly displaced, sometimes because of the overaction of your deltoid, your head of humerus may be displaced posteriorly. In that situation also, you can use this caudal glide to correct it. Okay, and one more thing is the caudal glide can be given in either sustained or oscillation. You need to know the difference between sustained and oscillations. Very high speed oscillations can also be given, and slow sustained thrust can also be given. So what is the why we need to variate this kind of oscillation? If you are giving oscillation, high speed oscillation, means it is purely for joint stiffness. The patient comes to you for any complaint of only difficulty in moving the he cannot go beyond, like his arm is not moving backwards, or he couldn't touch the opposite side scapula or opposite head. Like that, the complaint is not able to do, but he is not coming to because of pain. Okay, the main reason is the difficulty in completing the movement. So it is a purely joint stiffness problem. If it is a joint stiffness problem, you can without hesitation you can go for high speed oscillations. Okay, the movement should be like a given in this. This is the oscillations. Okay. Oscillation means the to and fro movements. High speed to and fro movements can be given. Or sustain means you are maintaining it. You are just holding it in that position for a few seconds and then relax and then come again. So here also the supine arm in the resting position and supporting the forearm between your trunk and elbow. A hand placement, the same way, the place one hand on the patient's axilla, to provide the grade 1 distraction. So this is like a slightly below axilla means it's it is easily represented that you cannot impinge it slightly below the axilla, and this hand can be used for giving distraction. That's what I told you. You can give distraction in the initial stages. The first few days of treatment, always we need to give some traction effect or distractions. Okay, so you need to place one hand just below the patient's axilla to provide grade 1 distraction. Okay, and then the web space of your other hand, for example, right side. Right side web space is useful for right side caudal glide. Okay, you can just place just distal to the acromion process, and you can glide the humerus in an inferior direction. And after that, you can use the long axis traction. That's what we have seen, right? So we have to give it in a, like the whole upper limb should be distracted or retracted downwards or pulled downwards. Okay, hand placement, supine with the arm in the resting position. Everything is, most of the time the arm should be in the resting position because it is more comfortable and pain-free position. But it is not a fixed rule, but we can change it according to the patient. That is the pain-free position. You can choose whatever it is comfortable and pain-free position. You can use that as a resting position. Sometimes we can change it. Okay, sometimes very rarely the patients, if you place the arm in resting position, can also produce pain. Very rarely, very few patients may come across as the resting position pain. So in that case, whatever it is comfortable, maybe you take a minute or two to find out which one is pain-free, and then we can choose that as a resting position. Okay, the same way, you have to support the forearm between your trunk and elbow, and then pulling it caudally as you shift your body weight inferiorly. Just we are gliding it. Okay, after that you can progress it not only by the side of the patient that is slightly abducted. You can go for caudal glide progression in abduction, 90-degree abduction also. You can do the same same pulling effect. Okay. Okay, this is, don't confuse it with long axis traction for caudal glide. It looks like caudal glide, but we call it long axis traction. Okay. And then we have the progression, the caudal glide progression in like above 90-degree. If you're if you want to improve the range of motion, abduction range of motion to more than 90-degree, you have to do wherever it is left out. Maybe previous treatment session, on a previous treatment session, what he has means maybe up to 90-degree. You have achieved 90-degree abduction from 45-degree. Just for example, I am telling you. And after that, on alternative days, maybe he's coming on the alternate day with 80-degree or 70-degree. You cannot achieve it. Maybe after mobilization, it may comes to 90. After a break, after taking a rest, it may again return back to 40 or sometimes 80, 70, like that. Then you have to start it from that. The progression must be needed, right? Up to 180-degree, we need to progress. That's what we call it progression. Maybe maybe second sitting or fourth sitting, you need to improvise. In the case sheet, it should be improved. Otherwise, you need to change the treatment. Maybe you're wrong. You're selecting the wrong treatment, or maybe something oscillation or holding or distractions. Anything may be wrong or you're wrongly doing. That is the point. You need to progress it. Otherwise, you need to change anything. Maybe the number of sets, number of oscillations, or the speed, rhythm, okay, like that. So you have to do that. Like the third sitting, you have to do from 90 degree, it should come to 140, 150. For that, this is the like a glenohumeral caudal glide progression. So same supine or sitting, mostly supine is most comfortable compared to other positions. You choose just supine lying and arm is abducted to the available range. Whatever it is there from the previous day's left out range, you can start from there. And then I told you, for completing the abduction, you need to do external rotation. From medial rotation, what is the reason means, maybe if you are doing it, do it in medial rotation of the shoulder joint, that may impinge on coracoacromial arch. We have some reduced space in somewhere between the painful arc. Okay, in that thing, it may get compressed or impinged on the coracoacromial arch. To avoid that, we need to give automatically in the normal abduction movement. You can see that it will go to lateral rotation. When you reach up for the final thing, like 180 degree of abduction, you can check that it is mostly in lateral rotation. So you can add up. For beyond the 90 degree, you need to do you need to do after 90 degree of abduction. You are going to, along with the caudal glide, you have to do lateral rotation. Maybe we will have 10 minutes break. Okay, then we will continue this.
Okay, miss.
Okay, miss.
On Caroline Kistner, the page number 109, you have this peripheral joint mobilization.
Miss, can you repeat again, please?
One second. In this book, you have like Caroline Kistner and Paul B. I already sent this book. Page number 138, actually. 138, you have this peripheral joint mobilization. That thing, it's more detailed, or the whole book is there for like Maitland's other book also I shared with you. The name of the book is The Peripheral Joint Mobilization. The whole book is designed, or the whole book has this techniques and assessment, how we will do all the details. Okay, here the definitions and the basic concepts, joint shape, type of movements, and then the limitation of joint. When we are restricted, we cannot achieve a beneficial effect in using joint mobilization, and contraindication and precaution. Okay, and then the procedures for applying the technique. So this one, examination and evaluating. In each and every sets of mobilization, you need to evaluate. You need to check the response, both the patient's response and then the range of motion, the quality of the movement, as well as whether it improve the range. Okay, the quality means the smoothness in which you are achieving the range, as well as is there any improvement in the range of motion. Okay, and all the details you can, maybe I can left out some details and all. You can make you can look into these books and get more details. Okay, so these are all procedures for speed, rhythm, and duration, and treatment, force and direction of movement, patient's response, the pain If it is irrelevant or it is not matching to the or it is simply soreness, you can allow that. Or if it is beyond that, or it reproduces the previous pain, so why is coming, right? So that pain is reproduced, or if it is worsening after doing the treatment, means don't do the treatment, just leave it, and maybe make a change in the plan, or reduce the amplitude and intensity of the technique. Okay. Then if it is remains the same, you have to add up some other techniques, or maybe you can remove this one. Okay. So we are purely what technique we are seeing means it's a Maitland's. Just remember that in this unit or in this semester, we are seeing only Maitland's technique. I already told you we have different techniques, different mobilizations are there, like Mulligan's mobilization is there, and then Kaltenborn's mobilization technique. So these three are very important in mobilization techniques: Maitland, Mulligan, and then Kaltenborn. We are not talking about the other two, only Maitland. It's very widely used all over the world. They are practicing it in common. So other Mulligan technique is the same mobilization, the same gliding, everything is same. But during that time, the patient should involve, or the patient should produce active contractions. While we have to give gliding, they need to do the movement. Whatever it is available, they need to complete it. Okay, so after that, you have the techniques also elaborated from from this thing. For each and every joint, we have for shoulder complex, we have from one. The page number is different, but e-books, we have different page setups. Okay, so maybe I will show. Yes. Yes. This is like a page number 150. From page number 150, you have techniques, the peripheral joint mobilization technique starts. Okay. So for writing also, you can just write it this way: resting position and treatment plane, stabilization, hand placement, right? So what is the indication? What is the use of applying the technique? So these three things are common. For maybe the treatment plane is same, the glenoid fossa only, we cannot change that. And the resting position also, normally we choose this one, abducted and adducted 30° and rotated. So it is in the plane of scapula. And fixation, you can have any assistance, or using the belt, we can stabilize. The same thing you can follow in this book also. Sometimes reading it through PowerPoints are not that effective. Maybe you can see this along with the picture. We can get all the details. Now this is what we are seeing. To increase the abduction range, only we are seeing. So glenohumeral joint, caudal glide with the shoulder near 90°. So this is like maybe in the first few degrees, 20°, 30° of abduction means you can choose this one for maybe the first day. First day he is having this much availability of movement, then you can do it on day one. But this is like progression. The glenohumeral caudal glide progression is the position we can follow it after maybe third day or fourth day. Okay, because what it means it is improving. It is improving means you need to change it. Change it to abducted 90° and lateral rotated and give caudal glide. Okay. So after that, we are increasing to like beyond maybe 120 or 140 to 180 degree. In this thing, also you can do this way in either sitting or in supine lying. We can give traction and then you can increase the range. Okay. But for that also the external rotation is very, very important. Remember that whenever we are increasing the abduction range to more than 90 degree, your shoulder should be rotated outward. Okay, outward means your thumb should face, how to say that, it should turn upward. Okay, when I am sitting, if I am in sitting position means the lateral rotation. The lateral rotation is what it means your thumb should face upward. That is the correct sign that you need to remember. Okay, if you are confused with what is medial rotation and what is lateral rotation means, I'm simply telling. So whenever we are doing abduction, your thumb should face the ceiling. Okay, in sitting it is upward, but in supine lying it is like superiorly. Okay, so it is in line with the head. Okay, you have all the details. So important thing is everywhere you can choose patient position, therapist position, hand placement, and mobilizing force. Okay, these are the important things we are going to discuss in each and every glide. Okay, other book is this one. Once again, we have this the Maitland's peripheral joint mobilization. The whole thing is designed for improving the range. These are very detailed and so much of elaboration. It is useful for clinical purpose, but in this stage, it may looks confusing for you. So that's why just follow either Kistner or if you want to expand your knowledge, maybe you can go through that, and any doubts, please you can WhatsApp me. Okay. Okay, so we are in the middle of glenohumeral caudal glide progression. So the therapist position and hand patient, the hand placement is in supine lying. The patient is supine lying, and you are facing the facing the feet, patient's feet, and stabilize the patient's arm with always how we can do in between your trunk and the hand. Okay, and then you need to do slight lateral motion of your trunk. Okay, that will just you give it a little bit of distraction, means you are moving away from the patient. You don't need to pull it, just you are moving away from the trunk, away from the patient itself, will give you a distraction. And then the same other things and all same, glide the humerus in a inferior direction and placing the web base just distal to the acromion process, and your thumb anteriorly. Your thumb should be placed anteriorly and your fingers are placed posteriorly. All the things are more or less same. Okay, so after that, this is beyond 90 degree of abduction. So you can do is important thing is the external rotation with the arm abducted and externally rotated to the end of the available range. So other than that, everything is same. Okay? You have to give grade 1 distraction, and you should place it. So whenever the patient is sitting, sitting and more than 90-degree means it is coming more of in anterior direction. It doesn't come as a inferior glide. It looks somewhat more anterior way. Okay, because we are abducting it to 90-degree, more than that. So you can see that it is coming more as the combination of inferior and anterior direction. Okay, so that's why the angle is in this way. It is not purely anterior direction or not purely inferior direction. It is in between that. The combined way, you have to give that force. So your hand placement and your position is in like a posterior to the patient. Okay, can you see that? She's standing behind him. Always remember that give grade 1 distraction. In the yesterday's slide, I have told you what is grade 1 distraction, grade 2 distraction, right? Wait a minute. I will search for any videos for grades. Just a minute.
Videos for your business. Hundreds of templates designed to get them performing their best. Be done by fixing. Metacarpal phalangeal and interphalangeal joints are convex proximally and concave distally, and therefore can all be assessed and mobilized in the same way. Assessment for flexion, extension, adduction, and abduction can be done by fixating the proximal phalanx close to the joint and palpating the joint line on the same side as the direction of movement. The other hand fixates the distal phalanx and can apply traction, glides, and angulations in the maximally loose packed and loose packed positions.
It is not there. Once again, I'm searching for rates of distraction. Okay, I will tomorrow I will get you the traction video. Sorry, distraction grades video. Okay.
Okay, miss.
So provide grade 1 grade 1 means you're just giving a slight pressure, slight increase in joint space. Otherwise, the grade 2 is fully slack. All the slacks are removed. That is what grade 2 distraction. And then grade 3 means it creates tension. Okay, It creates some tension and stretching effect to the tissues. That is what the various grades, nothing. You are increasing the pressure to different grades. Same thing for caudal glide, whatever it is, your the two things you need to remember. While increasing the range or while increasing the abduction range, lateral rotation is important. That's it. And then the posterior glide. This is useful for flexion. Okay, to increase the posterior gliding when flexion approaches 90 degrees. This is also the posterior glide progression, maybe third day or fourth day of treatment, you need to improve. For example, the posterior glide is useful for flexion, but initially you are coming with like resting position, abducted and abducted 55 degree, adducted 30 degree, and it is in the frontal plane. But after that third or fourth day, it should extend. It should extend beyond 90 degree. That is useful. So the glenohumeral posterior glide progression is useful for the flexion greater than 90 degree. Okay. So the patient position is supine with the arm flexed to 90 degree and then internally rotated. So whenever for abduction, we are doing lateral rotation. In the same way, for increasing the flexion, you need to do flexed to 90 degree and then internally rotated and elbow flexed. Okay, so please keep it in mind. Okay, so for abduction, you are going to, but for progression, I'm talking about progression. So above 90 means abducted 90 degree and lateral rotation and distraction 1. Okay, for flexion 90 degree, for flexion greater than 90 degree and all, what you have to do is arm flexed to 90 degree and then internally rotated with elbow flexed. Okay, okay, this is what the position is, flexed to 90 degree and then internally rotated. These are all for further progression because we are now reached to 90 degree. From maybe 30 degree of flexion to now we are coming to 90 degree of flexion. Then you have to maintain this way. Okay, so flexed to 90 degree, internally rotated and then elbow flexed, and in this position you have to give grade 1 distraction. Okay, this hand is for giving some distraction. Distraction and then give posterior glide. So always there is no harm in applying grade 1 distraction. That is very beneficial, but sometimes we cannot combine or we cannot produce that effectively, like distraction as well as the posterior glide is sometimes difficult. If the patient is huge, very, how to say, obese and all, you cannot cooperate with him or you cannot combine it. That's why we can split it. After giving distraction for a few seconds, you can give glides. Otherwise, the combined one is more effective. Okay, so either you can use this way or belts. You can use, just you can do some lateral movement. You can move away from the patient, thereby it gives lateral distraction to the upper arm, and then you give just posterior glide. This is very effective. Okay, just remember that caudal glide in after 90 degree progression, you have to do it in this way. In this way, the gliding should also be given as a oscillations or just a holding. Yeah, when you can give oscillation means if it is a stiffness, purely stiffness, you can give high speed oscillations, and you can reduce the oscillation and hold it. If it is a severe pain, or severe muscle spasm is there means holding or low speed oscillations. Maybe very gradual low speed oscillations are needed. Otherwise, just hold it. Just give a thrust and then wait for a few seconds and then release. So hand placement. Hand placement, we all have seen this hand placements, or if you are not using belt, this is the hand placement. Your left side on the distraction, your left side is useful for distraction force, and then your right side is useful for giving gliding, that posterior glide force. Okay. Or if you're using belt means you can use both your hands for giving posterior glides. Okay, so one hand across the proximal surface of the humerus to apply a grade 1 distraction, and place your other hand over the patient's elbow. So the pressure should given from elbow because it is 90-degree flexed. So you have no other way. We have to give pressure on the patient's elbow. After this, this anterior glide, we already know that this is for initial position, for initial first day or second day of treatment, for improving extension, right? For improving extension and lateral rotation, you can choose this one. And here the patient position is prone lying with the arm in the resting position, same that plane of the scapula. Okay. And one more thing is added, your the patient's upper limb is rested on your thigh. Okay. And align the couch or adjust the height of the couch in such a way that you are not leaning too much, or if you are slouched too much, it may strain your back. Okay, always maintain the neutral position, but you can use walk stands. Okay. Walk stands is very effective for providing anterior glides. Okay, always on the anterior aspect, provide pad support, very, very important. The comfortable and comfortability and relaxation of the patient. Just remember that whatever position you choose, it should be relaxing and pain-free. So here in the anterior aspect, we have some kind of a bony prominence as well as some tender tissues like biceps. Always the biceps has a tenderness, and then some other muscles also would be there. So always use padding on the acromion process. It is for both stabilization as well as for protecting the sensitive tissues. So if it is difficult, that's why yesterday I told you the prone lying is always not a convenient position. Am I right? So for old age people, you need to change it. You need to adjust it, or you can choose the alternative position like supine lying or side lying. One second. I have a call. Therapist position and hand placement. So here you are going to stand on that like facing the patient's face, right? So you have to face him in this direction, and then always have a box stance position. Box stance position, and then you support the patient arm against your thigh, and then you need to give. For example, this hand can be used for giving distraction. Okay, so right hand can be given, is useful for giving distraction. So this hand will give you an anterior glide. So whatever the hand which is closer to the joint line, that can give you the glide. Just remember that. Which one is easy for you to place, right? Left side. So you need to place that one. If you're crossing this one, it is not convenient, and also it will change your body posture also. Okay, so that is a very important thing, that just remember that whichever hand is closer to joint line or joint surface, you can use this for gliding, and other one is useful for giving distraction. And one more thing, your body weight. Use your body weight. If the patient is maybe he's having heavy weight. Otherwise, we can use upper body and upper limb weight is enough. If he's very lean and all, you cannot apply your whole body weight. Just you can use your upper body and upper limb weight is enough. Otherwise, you need to push all your maximum pressure. You can vary the pressure according to the patient's stiffness level as well as the body stature. You can vary. After that, this one, glenohumeral external rotation progression. Okay, because one more thing is whenever we are doing abduction and full range external rotation can dislocate. Okay, there is a one chance is there, that is when elbow is flexed to 90 degree and abducted fully, and then if you are doing external rotation, it can dislocate. There is a greater chance for dislocation. So to avoid that, you need to eliminate or you need to reduce the abduction. That is one more thing. Once again, I will show you the video.
Glenohumeral mobilization.
After mobilization, check for the improvement in range of motion. So I'm searching for something like progression. Wait a minute. Maybe tomorrow I will discuss it. This one. Okay, for specifically for avoid subluxation or avoiding dislocation, and then if you are improving purely external rotation, okay, you are concentrating only on external rotation, you can use this one, the glenohumeral external rotation progression. Okay, tomorrow I will explain it in detail. Okay, so far is there any doubt? Just leave this one. Okay, glenohumeral external rotation progression, I will complete it tomorrow. Other things, is there any doubts? Is this confusing you? I will upload it. Okay, I'll upload it and check it, and if you have any doubt, please feel free to ask me, and go through the books also. Okay, otherwise it looks confusing, or you feel that I'm blabbering something. Okay, just go through the books. Okay, understand the concept, and then it becomes easy for us. Okay, is there anything difficult to understand, or do you want me to repeat again maybe in the next week's class? But don't worry, for shoulder joint, I'm giving more importance, or I'm giving little bit extra time. Okay, otherwise for other things and all, we will go it in a rapid way. Okay, don't worry. For first thing, that's why I'm going in a little slow compared to other techniques. And one more thing, if you are well versed in shoulder joint, then it is more or less same for hip joint. The same, all the things are same, ditto. You don't need to worry about it. Okay, only thing changes can be made is resting position. Otherwise, everything is same. The glides, and then the distraction technique, more or less same, equivalent joint, right? Your shoulder joint and hip joint. If you are well versed in that, then we don't worry about hip joint. In the same way, knee joint, the same way your elbow joint also is halfway. Okay, like that you can compare and start practicing the technique. Okay, maybe next week, just I will send the slides and send you the all the videos and everything. Just go through it, go through and practice it, and maybe I will give you some time also next week. Maybe next week Wednesday, we will have some practical time. Okay, you just have to get practice on mobilization and what is the like how to glide it, how much range you can get. Okay, normally you need, first of all, you need to understand the normality or the normal ranges, and then you can find out what is the availability of gliding forces in the normal shoulder joint or normal elbow joint. Then only we can understand the abnormalities. Okay, so maybe try to get a model. Okay, I will ask any of you to demonstrate. Just leave this one. This elbow joint, shoulder joint lateral rotation. Leave that. Okay. Other than that, just not progressions also. Just gliding. Just the basic first day glides. Okay. Or initial treatment glides, you need to know. I will ask any of you to perform. Okay, try to get a model, and I remind you, only shoulder joint. Just practice it on shoulder joint. Any doubts? You can ask now.
Miss, could
Hi.
you send the recording?
Yeah. Today I will send you. Okay. Today I will upload it in YouTube.
Okay, thank you, Miss. Okay, thank you, Miss.
Go through it only.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
Joint. Just concentrate on shoulder joint and practice it. Practice the gliding and what indication and hand placements. Everything, practice it on any your siblings or your parents if they are free. Just apply all the glides and distraction techniques on them. Okay, let's wind up. Okay, thank you all. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thank you, Miss. Same to you.
Yeah, thank you, Miss.
Thank you, Miss.